trying to do a check-in at lunchtime, but when I got finished, um, I was informed that the people couldn't hear me. So I said that, all right, I'll come back on and I'll just do a quick recap of what I was trying to accomplish during the lunch break hour. And so again, I just want to start by thanking everyone for participating in the event that we had last Saturday with regards to the community chats. The community chats, oh my goodness, are giving everything that they're supposed to give. Um, and so I'm just elated that the momentum is still going and that it is again, like I said, just doing what it's supposed to do. But with regards to the most recent community chat where we highlighted narcissistic behaviors, encounters, healing from narcissistic abuse, and just how to identify different things with regards to interacting with a narcissist. Part of the quest behind the community chats is just to spread awareness, to let individuals know like mental health doesn't have to be a scary thing, to create a safe space for individuals to collectively come together and to just be able to unpack and unleash some of that suppressed stuff that they may have experienced in life. So each time we gather for one of the community chats, we'll be focusing on different topics. Hey, ladies, thanks for joining. So my eyes are all over the place because I am logged in from two different platforms, but I just wanted to make sure that I could hop on really fast to do a recap. And make this interactive, like leave comments. If you want to come on, feel free to hit the join button. I'm gonna have about 30 minutes before I have to get off to meet with my last client of the evening. But I wanted to come on to talk about how back in the day there was a little black book, right? And so the black book served as the guidelines for how to do certain things, and most times it was the guys having a little black book with different females numbers or what have you. But honestly, we all know that the little black book can apply to many things, right? And so we interchangeably use that term when we think about like just guidelines and highlighting different things. So while I was on earlier, I came across some information there with all of you because I thought it was interesting. And because we have been talking about narcissistic behaviors, I came across this the narcissistic playbook, right? And I thought it was hilarious. And I think once you come out of a situation or once you come out of an experience and you learn from it, you can honestly sit back and kind of laugh or chuckle at some of the things that come from it. And so I just wanted to kind of run down a list of things that were listed in this particular playbook. And you guys can share your experience about the playbooks that maybe you have, right? But tonight we're just going to tap into the narcissistic playbook. um, so in the book, the things that are listed start with love bombing. When we had the event on Saturday, we talked a lot about love bombing, what that looks like, what it feels like, and people were able to share various experiences that they have had of being love bombed by individuals, right? And so we know that love bombing is just another term for laying it on thick. Now, legit, some people genuinely just lay it on thick, but then there's others who lay it on thick with an agenda, right? And because we are specifically talking about things that people with narcissistic tendencies or traits do, the love bombing is completely different. Hey, Shaq, thanks for joining. But so in the playbook, so we're just talking about the narcissistic playbook. So I'm gonna just run through a list of things. And again, if you guys have questions or comments, just leave them. If you want to come on and join me, just click the request button and I'll definitely let you in. So love bombing, mirroring, right? So a lot of times people with this particular personality disorder, they mirror what the person in front of them does, the way that they carry themselves. It could be things that they do in the workplace, but they mirror the behaviors or things that they would really like to see in themselves, but they mirror it based upon what the other person does. And that's just a way of making those connections. And with regards to narcissistic personality disorder, we tend to lean more towards trauma bonding, right? And so if I give you background information about some things that I experienced in my childhood, there's a high likelihood that the person with this particular disorder or trait would be able to identify, right? And not to say that we're going to discredit the things that they identify with, but they might kind of up the ante a little bit based upon the things that you share. So love bombing, mirroring, gaslighting. Gaslighting is a word that has been used so much in the last 2 years. I keep saying that, but I think when we think about awareness and we think about educating one another with regards to the things that are placed in front of us, it's important that we have these discussions. And a lot of times the truth hurts, right? And so we don't necessarily want to think that people would manipulate us or take advantage of us. And again, people with narcissistic personality disorder can be male or female. So I don't want anyone to think that, oh, this is just something that males struggle with. And then it turns into like a male bashing session, because that is not what it is. There are definitely females that have been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So gaslighting, confusing people, telling people that something is what it really isn't, that you didn't say something when they actually heard you say it. And so you create this space of, discord and just arguing to get them to believe that, well, maybe it's me, maybe I did misunderstand you, right? And that's just again a simple form of gaslighting. But gaslighting is something that happens across the board, whether it's in an intimate relationship, a relationship at the job. It can happen between siblings. Like, gaslighting is interchangeably. Devaluation, isolation, triangulation. People with this particular disorder too, right? They create these webs, and when they're about to move on to a new supply, because that's what narcissism is, right? It's about supply and demand. And so when they're about to move on to something new, they will create this web or this triangle of trying to overlap or pull you into it, where they may compare you to another person, or that person that always talks about their ex. Well, my ex wouldn't do this, or you do this better than her, or just a way to get you to self-doubt, to compare yourself to the next person. But triangulation is a real thing, and it's highly prevalent in females that display these tendencies. Baiting, projection, smear campaigns. When I was on earlier, we were talking about the smear campaigns and how they fall in line with having those flying monkeys, right? Those enablers. So the person with the narcissistic tendencies will create smear campaigns about their partner or their ex, just as a way to add on to the isolation, and to have other people looking at the partner or the ex in a crazy way, right? Like, oh man, that is crazy that she would do da 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 da. That is crazy that he would do whatever. But these smear campaigns, and the one thing we tried to highlight earlier was the fact that when people are truly connected to you, those smear campaigns don't necessarily go far. But people with this particular disorder, they are savvy, they are crafty individuals, right? And they will even have the people connected to you looking at you sideways. One thing I tell people when they find themselves in a situation such as dealing with a narcissistic individual is to not feel the need to clean up anything that this other person is saying or spreading about them, because that just breeds more confusion, more frustration, and then you're kind of fueling the fire, right? And I know how difficult that could be, but you don't owe nobody an explanation. The people that are truly connected to you and love you, they would be able to say, nah, she wouldn't do that, or nah, that's not even like him. Like he wouldn't do that. And so just be mindful of those smear campaigns, right? Because when everything hits the fan, nobody wants to really identify with have had been a flying monkey for the individual. So smear campaigns, invalidation, blaming, shaming, humiliating, and think about your friend groups, right? Think about certain couples that are in your friend groups and some of the things that you might witness. I think when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder, it's important that we can call it what it is, right? The simplest way is to identify with addressing the elephant in the room. I shared earlier that when I was doing drug and alcohol counseling. That was one of the purest forms of counseling. And I loved what I was doing when I was doing that. But it gave me the opportunity to be raw with individuals and to really kind of like pull back the layers to get to the root cause of it, right? So we didn't have to do a lot of pussyfooting around trying to figure stuff out. It was like we could be a straight shooter. And when it comes to dealing with anybody with narcissistic tendencies, traits, or even a diagnosed narcissist, you have to get straight to the point. All that other stuff is null and void. It doesn't matter. What it does is it gives them fuel to try to go back to devaluing you, right? And so you want to make sure that you're paying attention and that you're always addressing the elephant in the room. And I know that that can be hard to do, but with practice, I promise you'll be able to master that. And to not feel bad about it, right? When we operate from a position of facts and not emotions, I feel like it gives very little wiggle room for us to tap into feeling guilty about the need to say something or to address something. So getting back to the list, controlling. These individuals are controlling, and remember, this is just the playbook for people with narcissistic personality disorder. Verbal abuse is a real thing, right? And I listen to people who will say, I would much rather be physically abused than verbally abused, right? When we shouldn't have to pick a side. We shouldn't have to decide like which one is better, or like picking your poison almost, right? Like nobody deserves that. And I think when it comes to a victim, and I hate using that word, but it's a real thing, right? But when it comes to a victim, that they just really understand their worth. And it takes work to get there because, again, if we go back to the initial thing that was on the list with regards to love bombing, um, a person with narcissistic personality disorder, they're good at that. They are master manipulators. And so they have perfected their craft. And so I also equate it to chasing a high, right? And so it's like any other addiction. And I said that when we did the interview with Leon. But if you talk to anybody who has ever suffered from an addiction, they'll tell you that I've been chasing the same high because the first time that I experienced this drug, it was like total euphoria, right? And so then the entire time that the independence or the addiction kind of evolves, right? They're chasing that original feeling, and you'll never ever get back to that. And it's the same with being in a toxic relationship with someone who is narcissistic. You'll never experience what you experienced initially when they were love bombing you. Never, right? And that's a hard truth. um Hoovering, they will hoover over you, and just to make sure that you're not on the verge of exposing them, or that you're not sharing what you're experiencing with them behind closed doors, because that's another thing. People with this disorder, like I said, they're master manipulators, so they know how to put the mask on and off, and they can turn it off and on just like that. Like, you guys could legit be in the car arguing about something, and they could be making you feel really bad about yourself, but then you get to the family function, and then they're like, "Oh, hey y'all, how y'all been?" Da 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 da, and like nothing ever happened. And meanwhile, you're stuck trying to stuff what just happened right before you walked into the door. And again, that's another form of control. Emotional withdrawal. People with this disorder will withhold emotions from their partner as a form of punishment, and also as a form of again, causing you to question the space that you guys are in. Lying, lying, lying. I can't say that enough. We all know people that just lie for the sake of lying. And that's a big one in the playbook, right? And so just really paying attention to that, and calling it out when you know that it's a lie. What do they say? If it looks like a lie, feels like a lie, then it is a lie, right? So just trusting your spidey senses, trusting your instincts enough to know that what's in front of me is not the truth, or what I have seen has not been the truth, right? Patterns are everything. And I think we kind of dismiss being able to identify patterns, and that's how we kind of get past, or we look and we stuff those red flags. So we want to make sure that we're just, again, paying attention. And again, the community chats are all about awareness, right? Not that I want everybody to walk away thinking that they have to second guess everybody and think that everybody is a narcissist, because that's not the case, right? But the difference is we want to really pay attention to the patterns that are being displayed, because I do feel like if we're being honest with ourselves and we're paying attention to those patterns, um, a lot of times you won't stay as long. And if you've ever had an experience, you know, right, yeah, she said big liars. If you've ever had an experience, then moving forward, or once you're able to step away, moving forward, you begin to look for certain things, or you're like, nah, this is familiar territory, and you're more apt to pull away a little sooner. And not to say that you won't ever experience one. I can count a couple that I've encountered. But hot and cold behavior, I call that the Jekyll and Hyde behavior, right? So one minute they're like lovey-dovey, the next minute they're totally cold, and they could go up and down from one extreme to the next within a matter of seconds. But again, it breeds confusion. It breeds um, self-doubt and second guessing yourself and feeling that you're not good enough. And again, this can be for men or women. I can't stress that enough, because again, you know, it's always identified with the men being narcissists. But like I said earlier, there are a lot of female narcissists as well. Guilt, playing the victim, right? People with this disorder or these tendencies and traits tend to play the victim. So they'll create all of this stuff, they'll wreak havoc and drama, but then when they talk to other people, they shift the blame, and it's all you, right? And it's because of you, and you're keeping them away from the kids, you're keeping them from being able to fully reach their potential, but the whole time they're demonizing you behind closed doors, um, discarding you, right? The biggest thing with narcissists is that discard. And they know in the beginning that they're going to discard you at some point. Again, it's about supply and demand. Think about kids at Christmas. So, Christmas, everything is new and shiny. Um, and those old toys, they don't touch them for a while, right? It's the same with narcissists and relationships. The new supply is new and shiny. The current relationship or situation is like dull and bland, right? So they kind of put you in a corner or push you to the side without any regards. And so as long as they have that next supply already lined up, and that's the thing with narcissists, right? And that's why they are constant cheaters or habitual cheaters, and they're always on to the next thing. Like they always have somebody in position to slide in the event that the one person kind of picks up on what and who they are. If there's any fear of exposure, right, they're done with you. If they feel that you're going to expose them, they're done, and they're already on to the next thing. The silent treatment as a form of punishment, right? So I can just ignore you and not say anything to you because I know how bad or how desperately you want to interact with me, or you want to talk to me, or you have this information that you want to share with me. And so they'll give you the silent treatment and go on about their day like not like it's nothing. Manipulation, like I started out, they are master manipulators, y'all. And then the last thing in the playbook is jealousy. Like nobody wants to think of being in a relationship with an individual who is jealous of you. Like who gets jealous of their partners, right? Um, but it happens. And again, this is just like I said, I'm able to laugh at it. And but it's really no funny thing. It's not like, there's really no humor in it. But I think that when you're able to step back from it and you can kind of see it plan out, or you could see how individuals are moving, you're grateful that you're able to see through the smoke. You're grateful that you've been there and you've learned from it, and it's like, by any means necessary, I'm not going to put myself in that situation again. And reading this playbook, one of the things that came up too was, do narcissists intend or know that they're going to do these things? And the answer is yes. They know. They come in with an agenda. I'm not sure if you were able to listen to the interview done with Leon, but one thing he said was, if you look at me longer than 3 seconds, then I know I can kind of rope you in. And people have different techniques and tactics as far as, looking for or identifying the people that they will prey upon, because that's exactly what it is. It's predatory behavior. People have these traumatic experiences that stem from childhood, that they kind of manifest as they become young adults and adults, and then the cycle is just vicious, and it goes on and on and on until they're ready to get help. And one thing that a lot of people try to do when dealing with someone with narcissistic personality disorder is to love on them in order to fix them, right? But these individuals don't necessarily want to be fixed. These individuals will despise you for wanting to love them through their mess, right? They're content. And I mean, they suffer, yes, but if they're not ready to get the help, it's nothing that anybody can do to get them there. So that's the playbook, y'all. I just wanted to hop on to kind of run through it because I tried to do it at lunchtime, and for whatever reason, the sound wasn't on. So everybody was texting me and calling me afterwards, like, girl, we couldn't even hear you. So I just wanted to give the recap of what I was trying to share with you guys during the lunch break. But yeah, so follow Patchwork Human Services over on YouTube. I'll be sharing more content over there. Please share the content when we have these discussions. Again, the community chats are solely to spread awareness, and to create a safe space for people to have hard conversations, hard discussions, to go inward and to begin their journey towards healing. And so, with that being said, yo, I gotta hop off because my client is about to log in for her session. But thank y'all for joining me. Talk to y'all soon.